A comfortable North London derby win for the Arsenal women, who absolutely pumped Spurs in front of a big crowd at Emirates Stadium. What a day for the Arsenal women. What a day for the Arsenal fans. The North London derby in the women's game feels like the North London derby used to feel when I was growing up. Very one-sided, one team far superior to the other. And I think there's a massive gulf in class between these two sides. I don't think anybody was sort of... I don't know what the word is. I don't think anybody thought any different going into this game. I don't think anybody believed that Spurs were going to come to Emirates Stadium and win. But Arsenal just really putting Spurs to the sword and putting them in a position where, you know, the game was pretty much a foregone conclusion quite early on. Now, I know that there was quite a long period of time between Beth Mead's opening goal and of course, Miedema's goal just on the stroke of half time. But Arsenal were just in complete control in that interim period. And you never, ever felt at any point, I don't think anyway, watching the game, that Spurs had a chance of getting themselves back into it. We'll talk about the game and some of the individual performances in just a minute, but we've got to start off by talking about the attendance. Now, 52,000 plus tickets were sold for this, which is incredible for a WSL game. It shows what a knock-on effect and what a positive effect the Euros had, the fact that the Lionesses were able to win it and really kind of give women's football in the UK liftoff. Now, I know a lot of people talk about the standard has been there for a while, and it has, you know, there's no question about that. But I think what the Euros did was kind of hook in the casual fan as well. Hook in those who ordinarily this weekend during a men's international break may have thought, you know what, I'll stay home, I'll chill out, I'll do this, I'll do that. Instead, people rushed to buy tickets for this North London derby because they now see the men's and the women's games on a much more level playing field. Now, there's still a long way to go, obviously, in a lot of ways, but I think people are starting to give women's football the respect it deserves, and you can see that by how many people turned up today. Now, there was 47,367 in attendance, so around about 5,000 short of the number of tickets sold. That's a bit disappointing. That's a little bit frustrating, and it's not like a men's game where, you know, they'll say, oh, it's 60,000, but only 56,000 turn up, because there'd be a lot of season ticket holders incorporated in that then didn't bother going. And so that's where you get the disparity. But these tickets were sold specifically for this game. So I wonder why there was quite a drop off between the number of tickets sold and the people that actually attended. Little bit disappointing, but it's still incredible to see 47,000 people turn up for a women's Super League match and set the new record. You know, it's great. It's brilliant to see. I think the coverage around women's football needs to change a little bit. And you know, I'm probably guilty of this as well because, you know, I'm not somebody that follows it perhaps as closely as I should. I always take an interest in Arsenal's results. I always keep an eye out on what they've done. And where possible, I'll catch the highlights. And I watch quite a few of the big games. But I'd be lying if I said I watched every single game sort of religiously. I'd be lying if I said I knew much about the rest of the teams in the WSL. But I think we've got to get past this point now. You know, I'm talking about the attendance because I think it's outstanding. But there has to come a point where we go, all right, that's normal now. You know, let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the quality of the football. Let's focus on what we actually saw on the pitch. And that other bit, the fans, people turning up, the interest, that should be a given. We're getting closer to that, but I still feel that some of the coverage on the TV, on the radio is still a little bit too weighted towards that side of the coin. So that's my view on it anyway. But in terms of the game itself, what a start for Arsenal. Beth Mead, it took her 5 minutes to break the deadlock, and what a goal it was. She had a first attempt which was blocked. She got a second bite of the cherry, and where the camera angle was, you could see the minute that left her foot that it was going into the far corner. Great goal. And then of course Spurs make a mistake right on the stroke of half time. The ball is given away, breaks to Miedema, who gets into a position from which you never had any doubt about whether or not she was going to score. Vivianne Miedema is one of the best players in the women's game. She's so composed in front of goal, so calm. She took her time, she looked up and picked her spot, and what a finish it was. You know, really, really good, accomplished finish. Then, of course, the second half started, and Rafaela Carvalho Souza, which is her full name, got up, of course, from the back with a towering header into the far corner. Brilliant to put the game beyond any doubt whatsoever. And then, of course, Vivian Miedema popped up with her second of the game with around about 20 minutes to go. It was a really controlled Arsenal performance. It was a really dominant Arsenal performance. They've now got 2 wins out of 2. They've scored 4 in both of their first 2 WSL games. So there's 8 goals, none conceded still. They're on this incredible run of keeping clean sheets in the WSL. And, you know, if you're able to keep your opponent at bay, at arm's length, then you always stand a chance of winning football matches. And Jonas Eidevall, his side are really, really good at doing that. You know, he's been a breath of fresh air since he's come to the league, I think. He's brought something just a little bit more tactically sophisticated than what we had with Joe Montemuro before, who was also great as well. Like, there's not taking anything away from that. But I think Jonas Eidevall has just added a couple more layers to what this team are all about in terms of different dimensions, in terms of squad depth. I think there's so much talent that he can call upon. People were a little bit underwhelmed by Arsenal's transfer window in the summer, but I actually think some of the players that maybe joined a little bit later on have had time to settle in now. Not in this window, I'm talking about those that came previously. I think there's people that have come back from injury, and you know, there's a lot of people that you would look at and in the classic Arsene Wenger way say, well, this person is like a new signing. And I think that Jonas Eidevall, you know, will feel that this season they can give it a real good go at the Premier League WSL title. Obviously, Chelsea the champions. Arsenal took it to the final day last season. But I think there's a lot of confidence around the place at the moment. You can see the likes of Beth Mead, who was in great form last season, but she's come back from the Euros with an extra spring in her step. I think you can see that. And keeping hold of Vivian Miedema has been huge as well for Arsenal because, as I say, she's a top player. But look, let's hope that the North London derby between the men next weekend is as easy as this was for the Arsenal women today, because, I mean, you know, they never, ever looked in any danger of giving anything up, really, against this Spurs side, who we knew were going to come there and try and kick people and try and get in people's faces, try and make it tough, try and make it ugly. That's what derbies tend to be about, and that's always the way that the underdog tends to approach the derbies. Now, in the men's game, it's very close at the moment, but there's still, as I said earlier on, in the women's Super League, a huge golfing class between Arsenal and Tottenham. And I don't really know that that gap has been bridged at all over the course of this summer. I think Arsenal have continued to improve. Looking at Spurs today, and again, admittedly, I haven't seen a lot of them over the past couple of seasons, but I did see them in the 2 derbies last season against Arsenal and, of course, today. And I don't think they've progressed particularly well. I know that, you know, it's an opinion that isn't based on an awful lot, but I just don't see the progression there. I don't see them closing the gap, bridging the gap between themselves and Arsenal. But that was an easy win, 4-0 to Arsenal. What a great day for the team, but what a great day for the club as well, welcoming in 47,000 people to Emirates Stadium to watch the women's North London derby. Thankfully, the result was what we wanted as well. Don't forget to leave a like on the video.